Welcome to episode number 138 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals, recording live on YouTube on April 10, 2016. Our topics include Twitter landing the NFL streaming deal, Facebook rolling out live streaming, New York Times podcasts, cat hackers, and puppy unboxers, among many more subjects. We always start off with the worst story of the week, and BL always has the honors. BL, what was the worst story?
Well, this week, Amazon Prime launched the Dash button. Well, actually, they launched it a while ago, but they added a ton of brands to it in the past week. And what that is Amazon Prime members, for whom these are essentially free, they get these little stick-on buttons that you can put, for example, if you want to order more, if you don't want to run out of Brawny, or you don't want to run out of Lysol or Purina cat food or Red Bull, you put one of these buttons, and each brand has its own button in the physical place in your house where the actual product is kept. And then the button, when you see that you're running low on coffee or cat food or whatever, you just push the button. Amazon Prime orders it and sends it to you with a one-click order. And to me, this is like the app. So you have these little branded buttons all over your house, you know, like where you keep your cat food, you have a Purina button, and where you have your coffee, you have a whatever your brand is button, and Doritos. So you don't, that's important, not to run out of Doritos. And, you know, detergent. I'm always running out of detergent because I keep it up on a high shelf. And Red Bull, you know, that would be tragic. Tide, Trojans, if you need more rubbers, you know, like I don't think I really want to wait for Amazon Prime to take care of that. But
that you need instant delivery for that.
Really, so I don't really want to have all these branded buttons all over my house, and I think that it's just the absolute height of laziness. And you know, nobody wants to live in a stupid home, so yeah, and you don't want to have to fight over who drank the last grapefruit juice, but you know. You certainly don't want to run out of toilet paper and then press a button for Amazon Prime to send it to you. So soon they're working on, apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal, they're working on devices that will restock themselves when they run low. And you know, the Wall Street Journal said that might seem like the Dash button is a hoax because they launched it the day before April Fool's Day, but you have to request an invite into the program, and if you're accepted, you get to request a set of branded buttons for nothing. But if you don't do it that way, then you pay $4.99. You pick out your buttons that you want, and then you get the refund the first time you place an order. And to me, this is just overkill. But, you know, brands better pay attention, because if people are going to want to have brand buttons all over their house because they're not like thinking about it the way I'm thinking about it, then your brand better be there, or, you know, they're missing out on this stupidity.
Well, these have been around for a while. I guess they're opening up to a wider swath of the public. But the Prime members, they've been around for a while. I don't have any. I could see using them, though. I don't know. That's such a bad idea. It's instant purchase, it's instant commerce, and that's what Amazon's all about. So from their perspective, it's a pretty smart move. Tack on a couple in the laundry room, and tack on a couple in the kitchen to restock whatever your favorite brands. I don't have them because I don't usually buy brands. I use generic brands because they're typically just as good and a lot less expensive. So maybe if Amazon gets some house brands for CPG products, I'll start using them. But I think it's an interim step between that and asking Amazon Echo to restock your products. Yeah,
see, I'd rather just ask Amazon Echo. I just don't want to be reminded, but with brand buttons all over my house. I mean, that to me is one of the reasons I order online, is so that I don't have to think about brands until I want something.
Yeah. So from brands to hackers, because I don't know what other kind of transition to use, but An interesting story I ran across last week about cat hackers, feline hackers. We know the internet is held together by cats, but now the internet may be terrorized by cats. This comes from a Fast Company Coexist article by Christina Couch, and she writes about a German digital media student named Dennis Siegel, who devised a smartphone-sized Raspberry Pi computer attached to a tiny harness that he fitted onto Cosmo the cat. The device was designed to tap into and amplify local Wi-Fi networks, so it transformed Cosmo into a furry Wi-Fi hotspot. Then they let Cosmo loose at a nearby park, and the device launched a series of commands designed to locate open Wi-Fi networks and break the encryption algorithms of those that were weak and badly secured. So after getting into the network owned by area residents, Cosmo's device amplified it, allowing anyone within 650 feet of the cat to freely use a Wi-Fi network that they hadn't been given permission to. So this was originally created as a class project. They call it the cat exploit. It's currently just a proof of concept and doesn't limit cybercrime to exclusively to felines. So like you could use a dog, you could use a sloth, I suppose. But
whatever you keep as a pet.
By creating the mobile hotspots, Siegel hopes to show just how easy it is for strangers to get access to private Wi-Fi networks. This specifically highlights the absurdity of sort of German law, where it holds Wi-Fi hotspot owners legally culpable for illegal activity done on their network. So if you as a private person have your Wi-Fi network not secured strongly and somebody uses it, jumps on it to do copyright infringement or whatever, you could be legally held accountable for that. So interesting story though.
We just got Wi-Fi in the subways in New York, and it's public Wi-Fi, and I wonder why anybody would use it. But yeah, everybody's on their phone, and I'm sure that some of the people are using Wi-Fi and probably doing their banking for all I know, but I'm not using it. So that brings us from cats to dogs, or are we going to go right to podcasts?
I don't. Have you got? You got another? Now I got another one, podcast one here. So, I had to do some research last week for financial regulated industry, financial services communications. And so to learn about what the regulations are for communicating online about financial services. So I did my research, found FINRA. FINRA is Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, and they have documentation. That's the place you go to find out about what type of restrictions there are on financial industry communications. They have podcasts that explain them. The only problem is I had to listen to the relevant podcast for what I needed to learn about several times over because they were so boring.
Did you fall asleep?
Oh my God. The host basically read the regulations rather than sort of it's a podcast, have a conversation about the regulations to illuminate and educate and inform the listeners. They just basically read it. It wasn't monotone or anything. There wasn't a lot of voice modulation that the hosts had, but it was just not a conversation. It was really not. It's an example of how not to do a podcast. Just spewing out information in audio format rather than making it entertaining and easy to listen to. So would have been much more effective at maintaining the listener's attention if they'd had a conversation about it rather than just reading off basically
it sounds like the
regulations.
It sounds like the podcast version of a lot of blabs. People just talking, not necessarily having a plan, not necessarily really having a beginning, middle, and end in mind, just going on. This was the week that Facebook launched Facebook Live video to everybody, and immediately BuzzFeed broke the internet with an exploding watermelon on Friday afternoon. And I don't know, the last time I looked, it was 4.5 million people had watched it, but 1 million people watched it live for 45 minutes. And I have to admit that as soon as it trended on Twitter, I was on there. It had 315,000 comments, 9,800 shares, just was just Friday. I haven't looked since then. And basically what they had was 2 BuzzFeed employees in white hazard suits with goggles on, and they had this watermelon, and they just kept on putting another rubber band around it and another rubber band around it, and they got up to something like 780 rubber bands or something, and then it exploded. And it was kind of a fun way to spend Friday afternoon, but you're going like, oh my God, I can't believe I've watched this. And so Joe Walda tweeted, he said, I just watch people on BuzzFeed put rubber bands around a watermelon for 12 minutes. Who allows me to keep living? And then Muhammad Omar said, this is it. The reason live streaming was invented. Behold. And, you do have to wonder. But
well, they created, I guess it's a way to create anticipation. Each rubber band creates the potential moment where it's going to explode. So.
And then it was, but now, key the analytical blog posts and articles about the significance of the watermelon explosion, blah, 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 because we will be seeing those ad nauseum for the next, maybe years, who knows? But it was really quite significant that they rolled out Facebook Live, an interactive video for both iOS and Android, and they announced it on Newsroom. It's available in 60 countries, including live reactions, filters, replay, comments. You can save the video, you can use it in groups, you can use it for events. It has a 90-minute limit, which is plenty, I'm sure. And it keeps the comments on the replay, which is something that YouTube doesn't do. And they plan to roll out a dedicated place where you can watch and discover what your friends are broadcasting about, and where you'll be able to go and search the live and non-live videos. And what they had to do, because it's Facebook, is they had to make sure that when they rolled it out, and the first night it went, they had Steven Spielberg doing it, that did a Q&A. They had to roll it out so it could scale, and it's quite a huge accomplishment. It really seriously is. Now the question is going to be how well people use it, and whether how well they use it is going to matter. Kind of like the blab question, does it matter if people have decent lighting and decent sound, or, does anybody care? It'll be fascinating to see how people use it. Much of it will be horrible, I'm quite sure. But just the fact that it's available in the numbers that it is unbelievably significant, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, Facebook is a huge platform, and they've got the most people of any social network using them. But 90 minutes is not long enough for an NFL football game. So maybe that's what kicked Facebook out of the running for landing the broadcast of the Thursday night football for NFL games, which Twitter got. And so Recode had an article on this by Peter Kafka, and BL, you've written about it too. So Twitter beat out Facebook, Amazon, Verizon, and Yahoo for the global rights to stream Thursday night football games that the league will host next fall. The broadcast will be Twitter will be able to broadcast the games worldwide without requiring sign-in to Twitter. They'll also be able to stream games via apps on platforms like Xbox game consoles. And the NFL says it's exploring ways to let Twitter stream the games via their Twitter syndication partners, which includes Google. Twitter will get 10 games, Thursday night games of the 16 that will air. They're the same 10 games that CBS and NBC will broadcast, and the NFL Network will carry the remaining 6 games. Twitter paid less than $10 million for the package, while rival bids topped $15 million, compared to the $450 million CBS and NBC collectively paid for the rights to broadcast the Thursday night games on television. So that's one big reason for the disparity, is that CBS and NBC have their own digital rights, and they'll be able to own most of the digital ad inventory. Twitter will be rebroadcasting the feeds of CBS and NBC Thursday night games, and they'll have the rights to sell a small portion of the ads. So Verizon also already owns the mobile rights for NFL games, and then last year Yahoo paid $20 million to stream one regular season game. Twitter's played up their global scale. So while the company ended last year with 320 million active users, they've long argued that the reach is much more because of logged out users who still view tweets. So they say their total audience is 800 million as of Q4 2015. So last year, Twitter and the NFL signed a 2-year deal to distribute highlights and other clips on the service. This extends that, obviously. They're tapping into Twitter's existing conversations around NFL games. So teams, myself included, for my Vikings, I'll go to Twitter and have conversations during the game. So we'll be able to watch NFL games live. It's a huge draw for new users, which Twitter obviously is big on. So we'll see how that plays out. That's a big deal.
Well, CNBC reported that the fact that Twitter got it was a direct result of a dispute between Facebook and the NFL, and that's why Facebook didn't get it. And now the question remains to be seen whether this will actually pump up the stock for Twitter, because it's really in the toilet. I know that because I own some. And I believe it will come back someday, but that's probably silly of me. So the other thing that came up in video this week was the power of puppies, and puppies play a big role in Beyond Social Media show tonight. And, there was something that this is from a Mashable story by Samantha Cooney, and YouTube video views generated 500 million pounds of Purina dog food donated to the Rescue Bank, which is an organization that distributes dog food to people who can't afford to buy it, and that's many, many, many thousands of people. And so every time you watch the video, which is absolutely adorable, of the puppies, they for every view, they up to 500,000 pounds, they gave a pound of Purina dog chow to this organization. I thought that was really, really proof of the power of puppies. I'm not quite sure what else it proved, though. I like the idea that a charity benefited from it.
Well, Verizon had an unboxing video for their latest, to launch their latest phone, the new LG 5G smartphone, and they launched the video on the unboxing video on March 31st, sorry, and the smartphone on April 1 with the unboxing video. So yeah, unboxing videos have been done. We've all seen them, kind of geeky, but this unboxing video was done by Puppies. Yes. So they had a bunch of puppies running around tearing open the boxes of the LG 5 videos, and you kind of wondered whether it was an April Fool's joke, since it was, April 1 that it was launched. It wasn't. It's a cute, adorable video, and you watch it all the way through because it's a bunch of puppies running around having a fun time tearing apart boxes, which happen to include LG G5 smartphones. They have an accompanying 360-degree video of the puppy cam, so you can watch that and pan around in the video and watch the video. It's basically like you're sitting inside of a playpen with a bunch of puppies running around playing around you.
Fun than that. But do you think that sold phones? I just don't know.
Well, if the idea is generating awareness for the phone, I think it was a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of hard to tell what the direct result of these things is. But did you have another video story? I thought you did.
I do, yeah. So this I just came across on Facebook. Minnesota Department of Transportation, of all places, had a time-lapse video, and I found this on the Tech Insider Facebook page. They have a time-lapse video of a bridge we're constructing here in Minnesota over the St. Croix River. And the video illustrates how bridges are built. So over the time lapse of the video, there's some animated portions that demonstrate how bridges are built by taking caissons and drilling them into the bedrock of the river, and then slapping down some walls around those caissons and pouring concrete into them to build a concrete platform on the river bed that serves as the footing for a column to be built up And once you build that column out of the water, then you can attach precast bridge segments affixed to the columns by cranes, and then they're joined together by tension cables. And you learn all this from watching this several minute time-lapse video. So it's a very cool way of highlighting a public works project.
You know, I watched it 2 or 3 times because it was just so cool. I thought, like, I really didn't know exactly how they did it. I mean, I had some idea how they did it, but to watch it in a few minutes was just really, really fascinating. And it did go by really fast. And you know, so I watched it again and I was like, wow, I could watch that a few more times because it was so cool. So there was something very interesting that happened this week on LinkedIn, because I don't think of LinkedIn as a news source. And Pete Cashmore, who is the founder of Mashable, published a staff memo on LinkedIn where he talked about how LinkedIn is going to pivot and stop covering world news and politics and go back to what their core content really is. And they're going to make their focus on video. And they're going to concentrate on their core competencies, which are digital and you know, digital and trends and tech. And I thought it was fascinating that he announced who was leaving and who was coming, and that there would then be an all-hands meeting later in the afternoon to discuss it further. But I thought making that public was a real, very interesting step toward transparency in business. And I just was wondering why he did it on LinkedIn.
I don't know. It's a good question, but Mashable, I mean, they've been. I have actually stopped paying attention to Mashable several years ago because they went from being a place where I could get quickly up to date on a lot of things that are going on in digital, to doing everything and anything and being a horrible web experience, by the way.
Yep.
The website just takes forever to load, and they're shifting to. I mean, he laid off a lot of people that are devoted to creating print, basically copy, in favor of video. So it just tells you where, you know, how people are consuming content now. And the big shift is towards video, which we've been talking about all podcasts. Speaking podcasts, though, the other podcast story we got last week was New York Times launching a podcast team. This is from a Neiman Lab article by Laura Hazard Owen. And so the New York Times is creating a new audio team. They're going to launch several news and opinion podcasts this year and more in 2017. They'll begin with a handful of shows with outside partners that have a strong prospect of creating a wide audience quickly. And then they'll use those shows to build audience for shows produced within the Times itself. The Times appears to be the first paper to launch a separate podcast-focused audio unit that's focused on revenue, ad revenue, and attracting listeners on a broad scale. They launched the Times launched their Modern Love podcast, which is based on the Style Section column, in January in a partnership with Boston's WBUR, and it gets more than 300,000 downloads a week. They'll begin selling advertising for the new podcasts, and will eventually incorporate them into the Times' existing apps and digital products. So, you know, more momentum for podcasting. A big player like the Times putting that many resources behind podcasting will only drive more attention towards the medium itself. And I expect, we've been talking about other players opening up. Google and Amazon potentially could widen the audience for podcasts too.
Well, the audience for podcasts is growing on a daily basis, and I wonder when people have time to listen to all of these. You have to get very selective about what you're going to listen to, unless you're going to have it running in the background all the time, which maybe people do. I am not that great at multitasking things I really want to know about. You know, I can have sound in the background if I don't really care what it is, but when I'm trying to learn something or I'm trying to listen closely, I have to do that. And I think that's because I'm old, but maybe you know, kids can do it better. But I just have one more puppy thing. The ASPCA is celebrating its 150th anniversary, and they're doing it with 150 days of rescue. And the thing about the ASPCA is that they have one of the all-time saddest most depressing ads in the history of advertising, which is the one about the dogs and cats dying, and you have to come on the wings of an angel, and you have to take all your money right now and send it, because otherwise you have to kill yourself, when you see how sad this all is. And, you know, I've been to conferences where people say, I hate this ad more than any ad I ever saw. Well, they got the message, and this is a very upbeat, wonderful video, and has celebrities including Jennifer Coolidge and Jason Schwartzman, Martha Stewart, Edie Falco, Nathan Lane, 50 Cent, Richie Gervais, and they're all there with their shelter animals talking about this program and how, you know, you should adopt a shelter pet and do service. And the goal is to get 150,000 hours of service at shelters to help the shelter animals. And, you know, kudos to them for cheering up, and what a great program. And it's got puppies, lots of puppies.
Yeah, inspiring stories are much more palatable than profoundly depressing stories.
Oh my God, you have to slit your wrists after you see this ad come on, you know? So I think that, does that bring us to apps?
It does. New stuff.
Oh, by fast, Dave. Okay, so this is sort of strange to me, but the mobile messaging company Snaps teamed up with Vodafone and Monica Lewinsky, we all remember her, to launch a free BeStrong Anti-bullying emoji keyboard for iOS. It's really an important topic. And there are pictures that are intended to show that the sender is against cyberbullying and offer support and friendship to those going through a rough time. And more than 5,000 young people have already chosen to use them. And they're symbols of compassion and solidarity. I read about this in Media Post in Amy Core's column. And, you know, I think it's a way of reaching kids who are very vulnerable and don't have other places to turn. So I applaud them for doing that. And Monica Lewinsky for reinventing herself. Good for her.
Well, the reinvention tour continues.
Yeah, right.
I came across, this was all a buzz. Everywhere I looked, I saw this. So I had to mention it this week. Data USA is a website that was put together by, I can't remember, three organizations that I fail to recall off the top of my head. But anyway, they gathered a bunch of data sets from government entities, so U.S. Census and a bunch of other huge sets of the government data. And anybody who's tried to use that knows that they're spread all over the place and hard to use often. So they gathered together and put together a nice interface over it, so you can search all these different data sets, and they've categorized them into different profiles. So there's location profiles. You can type up your city that you live in and find out a lot of data about what the demographics are of your city. Industry profiles, so a lot of data on specific industries. Education profiles, so the type of education you get, who is getting jobs in what industries based on that education. They've got map mashup, so you can overlay a United States map and drill down into your city, your state, your county, and find out more about it, like the highest crime rate areas and things like that. And then there's data downloads to accompany those. So anybody who's doing any market research, it's a huge and easy to use resource that people should be looking at too.
Free? Is it free?
Free, yep.
Oh, that's excellent. So talking about searching, Google Search now has animal noises. This is from a Search Engine Journal article by Matt Southern. If you type animal noises in Google Search, you can now play 19 different animal noises, ranging from raccoons, who I didn't know what noise they might make, to whales, and to my favorite, cows. Google Search will moo for you.
Why are cows your favorite?
I don't know. I've always been a bovo maniac. They're such peaceful, sweet creatures. They don't hurt anybody, you know. I don't eat them.
I have a friend who's a cow artist, Patty Vojay.
Oh.
She paints brilliant cow paintings.
Very good. Must see those. I've been photographing cows for many years, and you know, I've got Scottish cows and American cows. And, yeah, that's a hobby of mine, cows, and I have, you know, cows all over my house.
My animal is squids, but you don't run across them very often, except you know, in restaurants.
Your
Squids.
animal is squids.
Yeah, I just you don't
like
see them
those little
driving down the road or
Frankenstein
anything.
things,
So
right? You like the little Frankensteins, the claws.
yeah,
I like
tentacles.
to eat them. Yeah.
Yeah, they are delicious, but they have to be babies to be eaten. Anyway, my other cool tool is newocr.com. Newocr.com. This is a free online tool that will extract text from images. So you have a text that has a lot of an image that has a lot of text, and you want to extract from it. Then just upload that image to NewOCR, and it'll pull out the text for you. So easy to
Out of a
use. You know, you
JPEG?
can't copy and paste. You can't copy and paste text from a JPEG. So this will pull out that text for you.
I wonder how they do that.
OCR.
I got to try that.
Optical character recognition.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That brings
So
us
that
to
brings us
daily
then to the daily numbers. We've got data customers are willing to share with marketers this week. I had a exchange with a follower on friendly exchange with a follower on Twitter about whether about he maintained that people are no longer giving up their email address to marketers, and I'm like, I don't see any evidence of that. People are still doing it, and so here's my stats to tell you that. This is, let's see, okay, this is data collected by marketers versus consumers' willingness to share that information. So phone numbers, 84% of marketers want to collect phone numbers, and what do you think, high or low on the on whether consumers want to give up their phone number?
I think they do, but I always give a wrong phone number. I don't want you to call me.
28% are willing to give up their phone numbers of consumers. I don't ever want somebody to call me.
No.
I don't want to. I want to call them when I need them. So, email addresses. 84% of marketers want to get an email address, but 56% of consumers, that's a majority, are willing to give up their email address. The thing is, you know, don't abuse the relationship. If you give something of value to get for people to get their email address, and continue to give them value while you've got that relationship. If you start abusing it and sending them spam and stuff they don't want, well, obviously they're not going to want to maintain that relationship. So
it's astounding how many companies think that the one time, you know, you wanted something, you gave them your email address, and then you hear from them every freaking day for the rest of your life. Even after you put them in spam, it still comes.
Yeah. Yeah. So respect the relationships, people. Mailing address, 82% of marketers want that. 39% of consumers are willing to give it up. Gender, 82% of marketers want that. 64% of consumers are willing to give that. Purchase history, 77% of marketers want that. 43% of consumers are willing to give it up. My question with that is, do they know they're giving it up? Like, you know, Amazon just collects that routinely. Obviously, it has to have it for it to work. But so,
well, for your
anyway,
account,
rest of the stats in the with a link to the show notes.
Well, I find it really amazing that, you know, there are ways to get even more email, but there is some valuable information out there, and you want to get it when you want to get it, and that requires giving your email. I was surprised that people would give their mailing address, though. I won't do that.
Yeah, I don't typically do that, but
yeah, and you know, I'm not giving you my phone number. I give you a phone number I had 20 years ago, but I'm not giving you one I have now because I don't want you to call me. If you do, I will block you. So that brings us to the end of episode number 138 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And links to everything we talked about will be on our blog, the BeyondSocialMediaShow.com blog/138 for episode 138, which this is. And we would love for you to leave us a review and tell us what you think. Hopefully you liked it, and you'll go to BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/love. You're going to find David Erickson online on Twitter. He's at @DErickson. He blogs at eStrategyBlog.com and CreativePR.com/blog. I'm BL Ochman. I'm at What's Next on Twitter. I blog at What's Next blog and PawFun blog, and on Maximum-Plus.com. You can hire me for all things video and live streamed events. You can find the show BeyondSocialMediaShow.com, and we are on Twitter as @BSMediaShow, and you can subscribe to our newsletter, and that is at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter. And that way you will not miss an episode, but you will also get the Big Book of Shiny Objects, which features some of the best of the new apps that we've tested and featured on the show. The only way you can get that is to subscribe to the newsletter. And you will love it when you do. So that means that we'll be back next week, same time, same station. And we thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.